Hello, everybody. We had a little bit of an issue, but we have gotten that resolved. We thank you so much for your patience as we tried to get this started. We are here today with a fantastic Group D race where we are featuring DisasterKatti versus TheHaxor. Group D, as in Dry Bones, is coming. It's time for a Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer race. On comms today, I am Growlf. I will be calling the shots. I will be walking you through the games as to what happens and where we're going from here. We are going to be getting started in just one moment. If you want to get your maps up, go ahead and take your guesses. I think World 7 is going to be a start. We might start with a reverse world order. And we'll find out here in just one moment. We do have a Group D race, as we talked about just a moment ago. And that is featuring a very well-known 100%, any percent SMB3 speedrunner who really needs no introduction. If you are familiar at all with Super Mario Bros. 3, then you know who TheHaxor is. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we do have DisasterKatti as well. A bit of a newcomer in this game, but nonetheless a force to be trifled with, no doubt. And this is going to be a two-race match, no matter what happens in the first or the second. It will only be two races. It's not a top 10, or sorry, a best of 3. It's not a race to 2. It is just 2 races because it is part of the group stages. And we are going to be going really just as fast as we can through this. So as we get started, I should mention we are doing a tourney group 2 stage, which means in-card games are going to be allowed. Hammers are going to break locks. And everything else is basically randomized at this point. We're going to virtually, just kind of shake up the game like we always do. It's one of my more favorite seeds. I think it's a little bit of a good time. You get a little bit of strategy going into this as the hammers do break not only the rocks but also the locks, and that adds a whole nother component where we kind of talk about different items and things like that. And really, it's just a whole lot of things that we can say a lot about the different items, but in this level, in this seed, really the biggest item that we're going to be looking at and for are hammers. So we'll watch to see if Boomerang Brothers get played for their items. We'll also watch for the levels that have hidden items within them, and we will check and see if we are able to get some of those very valuable hammers, as well as hammer suits. Those are also very top tier items that we're going to be looking for. And a bit of a rough start so far. We have 8-1 that both runners were able to glide through quite nicely. TheHaxor now on to 5F2, and DisasterKatti will be catching up here momentarily as well, doing just a little bit of recon before figuring out, hey, where exactly do I want to go? And that, of course, does land DisasterKatti onto 5F2 as well. So TheHaxor finishing off the level, DisasterKatti taking a Fire Flower for a bit later, and that is going to be a good time also. And Kryptonym, I do apologize, I didn't mean seed, I meant flag set. No, I have not seen this seed before. I did just roll it because we had a bit of a discretion in the background and we wanted to verify that both runners did have the exact same seed. Obviously that wouldn't be fair, some are longer than others. Not every seed is created equal, but otherwise, no, I've never actually played this one before to my knowledge, but I do like the flag set. I like the opportunity to look for some hammers, play a little bit of a gutsy, almost gamble type call in this game. And a big boss bass on this lost level for DisasterKatti, but of course he will go down into the pipe and not have to deal with that boss bass again. And Zero Wing 211 actually called it by its correct name. I should take notes. That is a double round robin that we're going to be going through. So right now in the Group D, we have DisasterKatti, who is completely undefeated, but also hasn't won a game. This is the first randomizer race that DisasterKatti has done in group so far, whereas TheHaxor is currently 4-0. So there is a lot of game to play here. We do have a lot of things that are coming up and a lot of things that we'll be looking for throughout this, specifically if DisasterKatti is able to take down TheHaxor, because that will be a huge upset in terms of the game and the way that it's going, because TheHaxor is defeated at 4-0 right now. So the Bagler at 2-2 is certainly looking to have a maybe 0-2 slide into DisasterKatti's favor, because then that would make him tied for the first if he's able to take 2 against DisasterKatti. Of course, DisasterKatti has really the opportunity and the tools to write his own story in this point, because anything could happen. Second place is definitely possible. First place is definitely possible. So a lot of really good things on the board for DisasterKatti. And with that, I would also like to remind you of the games and the races that we do have coming up, because we have today DisasterKatti versus TheHaxor, obviously, if you're watching that now. We have Frank and Rock versus Ricky up to Carry. That will be occurring at 3 p.m., so just under an hour from now, about 45 minutes from now. That will be on SpeedGaming. The Magoo is Adorable versus Boot to the Man will be on SpeedGaming 2 tonight. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. And also tonight, we have Tapasio J versus S Diesel, and that will be, like I said, 9 p.m. tonight on SpeedGaming 4. And then tomorrow we have a whole bunch of races as well. We'll get into that later. For now, we have both of our runners doing their best to get through World 2, which is actually World 4 here. And they're going to be getting through this as quickly as possible. We just saw a very nice run through of 7F2 by TheHaxor. Definitely a level you don't want to play more than once if you don't have to. Now we have DisasterKatti just about a level behind at this point, and he is currently going through 7F2 as well. Picks up a 1-up, which could be a lot of different items. This time it was a 1-up. Meanwhile, TheHaxor onto Airship 5. Go ahead and get your guesses in for the next world. Seems like a really good time to do that at this point. And we do want to remind you that in-card games will be appearing at some point, specifically because once a runner hits 80,000 points, as we've just seen DisasterKatti do, TheHaxor did that just a little bit ago, then the runners have a choice of playing the int card game, which is a matching game from the original game. And that, of course, is for 2 matches, make up an item. In the original game, we had 8 possible layouts that the cards could be in. But with Randomizer, we said, you know what, that's way too easy, way too predictable. We're going to randomize it. So there are, I believe, literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of possible differences that we could have. And World 7 is correct. So Mini Guy DP, very well done. We'll see if you can extend your combination of world guesses in a row here in the next world. So far, a pretty jet scene. World 7 has come up here. World 4, just not a whole lot. DisasterKatti doing his best to get caught up here as quickly as possible. And TheHaxor looking for a 1 cycle. Looks to me as he just got it. Very nicely done. And DisasterKatti doing his best to get caught up as he goes into a cutscene with the World 4 King, which I believe that's actually the World 2 King. I think that might be associated with who or with which king was part of the airship. But I could be wrong about that. I'll have to verify that later. Oh boy, a little bit of shade in chat from Kryptonim. It looks like DisasterKatti has gone into 7-6 without an item. We'll look for an early exit here. No, I apologize. It looks like DisasterKatti might actually go through this level. Okay, there we go. He has taken the 100 coin fine. And will likely... Okay, decides he wants to go ahead and play the Fortress. That is, of course, World 8's Fortress, which we just saw TheHaxor take on a moment ago. Meanwhile, he is in 6F2, also known as Elsa's Frozen Fortress of Solitude, as it was dubbed previously in some of the weekly randomizer races. Now, this is not a bad fortress at all to play in. In fact, it's one of my favorites, as you do have to pretty much have an item the entire time. Now, DisasterKatti does have to build an invisible coin bridge in order to get the item he needs, which is on the left-hand side. DisasterKatti does take an early exit here, as he is struggling to pick up that item. Meanwhile, TheHaxor has already figured out the pipe maze, and really not much of a pipe maze at all. And with that, in about 9 minutes, TheHaxor is going to be picking a fight with the Conductor of Calamity, the one and only Maestro of Mayhem, and the... Let's see, I was trying to think of another one real quick. The Beethoven of Belligerence? Yeah, we'll work on it. Anyway, He is going to be picking a fight here in just one moment with Ludwig von Koopa. Mini guy, look to extend your lead here with another guess. Everybody else, get your guesses into for the next world as well. I believe I'm going to have to go with World 5 this time. Rider of Woes, I like that. Orchestrator of Annoyance. Not exactly the same, but at least owls. Okay, looks like we've got a guess of 3, a 5, a 1. All good choices. We'll see which one is absolutely correct. Kalak, World 4, I believe, was already played. That was World 2. It came and went super quick. Poet of Pandemonium, Singer of Sorrows, Chopping of Chopping. I'm going to have to write some of these down, I believe. Those are all very fantastic. I will use those. I'm definitely borrowing those. TheHaxor has found World 5. Congratulations to Miniguy DP. A very nice showing. That is now 2 that Miniguy has gotten incorrect, or has gotten correctly answered. He's gotten his answer in, and it was correct. There we go. Words are hard, but this game so far is not for these two runners. Already into World 4, TheHaxor is going just blazing speed through his level, as well as DisasterKatti has just finished off 7-6 with a nice clip as well. And with that, both runners will be moving on. TheHaxor finishing up 7-7 in beautiful fashion. Was going for a clip in the beginning. Very nice to see. And Sleepy Domino with a fun fact. There are no vanilla worlds to seed, but there is Atlantis. It looks like Atlantis is not required, at least from the perspective of a cloud, which Haxor, as we see his first look at the inventory, does have 2 of and has used one in Atlantis. A very fantastic usage of that cloud. That is why clouds are made. I'm convinced of it. The DisasterKatti now has to figure out, wait a second, which fortress is the right fortress. He has gone to 6F2, which, as we just saw Haxor play a little bit ago, is the correct fortress. And thankfully, these ice blocks don't melt under fire pressure. So DisasterKatti is going to be able to get through this no problem at all. TheHaxor looking like he's going for an off-screen wand grab, but I'm not certain he got it here. We'll see in a moment. He did. Okay, very, very good job on the Haxor side for pulling off that off-screen wand grab. That's sometimes hard to see with the cropping and everything, but a fantastic job on the Haxor. And that's to no fault at all. Please understand, I'm not faulting anybody. Different emulators and the different power packs and the different things that they do are just part of the game. So there is basically no rhyme or rhythm as to who uses what. It's really just a personal preference. Some will use a computer with an emulator, some will use other things. Really, it's just runner's preference, like I said. So sometimes the screen shows it really nicely, sometimes it's not so easy for us to see. Either way, the Haxor saw it, the Haxor got it, and that's all that really matters there. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti now into the world for airship, and is going to be looking for a fight as well, doing an absolutely stellar job. He'll be picking a fight with the poet of Pandemonium, the artist of Armageddon, the chopping of chopping, and the conductor of chaos. Ludwig von Koopa coming up, of course, on his side. The Haxor now onto another fortress, just coming to him, burning through him, and that is going to be it for some of these. Already at World 5 at 12.5 minutes in. Just a fantastic pace so far. I'm not going to hardly be able to call the action here because it's just going to go way too quickly as the Haxor finishes up for F2 and is going to be looking at the next fight here in just one moment. True Hyper Mario with a raid of a party of 4. Welcome. We want to say welcome to all the viewers from there. It is a fantastic race we have so far. Super quick at this point. World 5 on the side of Haxor. And he is just blazing through this world. I haven't even been able to explain everything, much less this end card game he's playing, because not only did we randomize what was in or where the cards were in the game, we've also randomized which prizes you do get from that game. So if you have 2 fire flowers come up, I sure hope you don't want a fire flower, because there's a possibility you won't get that. 20 coins, not going to happen. You're going to get an item instead. It could be a star, it could be a music box, it could be a frog suit, it could be just about anything else. I understand that a Warpless and I believe a hammer are not allowed within the end card game. So those are 2 items you will not receive from that game. But anything else is pretty much fair game. So we'll be watching to see if we do get those hammer suits, those fire flowers, those things that do keep our runners in the know and able to keep going and take down Bowser. The Haxor now has found the first of the hand level stages that are usually in Bowser's Kingdom of World 8. And a P-Wing does come up for the Haxor. And yes, a P-Wing can also be found within the in-card game. So very interesting for sure. The deletion of auto-scrolling is the best thing about these randomizers. I tend to agree with you there. There are a lot of really good things, but honestly, one of our personal favorites is the deletion of those auto-scrollers. There's a lot of things that we want to do in a randomizer, and going slow is not one of them. We have one rule and one rule only, and that is go as fast as you possibly can. Find the gigantic spiked turtle at the end who has taken the Princess Peak. Take him down by whatever means necessary, and get ready to protect the princess and save her and cherish it for another day. And all of that goes... Okay, looks like DisasterKatti having a little bit of an issue there. Will not be able to get to a platform in quite enough time, and will unfortunately have to play this level again. And no hammers on the side of DisasterKatti does mean playing that level again, unfortunately, but hopefully is able to get through it. No trouble this time at all. And we will check in as he does go through 6-2. Speaking of 2s, we've got the Haxor currently looking at World 1 Fortress. Now, something that's very interesting about World 1 Fortress is it cannot be critical to the role. It cannot be required as a fortress, but it can be in the way. So if the lock on the right-hand side of the screen is right behind a pipe, like in between the pipe and the level where the pyramid usually is, which of course leads you to the castle, it could be in front of that, because you could go down and around from 2-5. Now the difference is you might have to play 3 levels versus the 1, but it would be possible to be only 1 level versus 3 because of the lock of where that is in the World Fortress. So the route cannot be critical, but it could be in the way, and you do have to go a longer route. A couple questions in chat. I need to be quiet apparently. The Hammer Brother is sleeping. Best to let sleeping brothers lie. And to answer Super Squirrel's question, Haxor is very comfortable with where he is at in inventory. Because of that in-card game, he does have a full inventory and not a whole lot of time left to use those items. So you do not want to get bogged down with a whole bunch of items, especially when there's just not a whole lot of time to use it. A few of the items we're looking for are like hammers, Hammer Brothers suits, Cloud. Those are the big ones that we're going to be looking for. And once you have a couple of those, like we said before, hammers are just not going to be required, or hammers are not going to show up in an in-card game. So he will just really bypass it at that point. Not really something that we're going to be looking for there. But regardless, we'll come back to that here in a little bit. DisasterKatti is looking like, I believe an anchor was a mushroom. An anchor is in fact a random object in the game, because in the vanilla game, the airship was used to keep the airship in place in case you took a loss of life there. Now, as we had mentioned before, the fortress cannot block. Oh, unfortunate for DisasterKatti. 6-2 is just not playing friendly for DisasterKatti, and is going to unfortunately have to play this again. But the lock was not in a critical place, obviously, because it was attached to World 1 Fortress. But if that lock was on the other side of the 2 panel where the Haxor currently is, that would mean more levels that he would have to play. So a good heads-up play from Haxor. I think it was a wise decision to go after that, especially with the item page the item inventory he currently has. So very nice done on his side. Just doing a fantastic run at this point. A clinic going on right here. Absolutely, Fatosaurus Rex. You are absolutely correct. DisasterKatti is running a pretty good race, but the Haxor's eating the seed alive. Not something that's usually said about my seed, but you are absolutely correct. This seed not playing by the Growlwolf rules usually. We normally would still be in World 3, World 4 at this point, but not this time. I guess my luck had just run out today, and thankful. I'm sure the HaxorR is thankful for that as well. Very mild Morton this time, not salty at all, and just an absolute stellar run by the HaxorR so far. We'll be going into World 7 here in just one moment, which I do believe World 3 is coming up, so a fight with Wendy is going on for sure. Anchor is Mushroom, absolutely. So not really a whole big deal at this point. And honestly, the HaxorR, if he has a Fire Flower, is going to be just fine taking that into the fight with Bowser. I'm sure that is a bit of a quicker kill than the 3 jumps is. So Hammer Brother Suit, of course, being the fastest, but if you don't have that, go ahead and utilize the Fire Flower. It works. So a bit of a letdown for DisasterKatti there, 6-2. Sometimes those levels just get you, and that's an unfortunate sight to see. But the race is not over, and certainly the second race hasn't even started yet. So don't be discouraged too much. Don't be too concerned. Don't let it get into your head. You got through the level. You're doing fine. Keep it up. You've got a long way to go. You're not done yet. Meanwhile, Mini Guy DP with a hot take could be a sub-30 run. We are in World 7, which is World 3. A lot of pipes to choose from. A hammer suit on the side of HaxorR. So we do have the Bowser kill that we are looking for most likely. And the HaxorR, of course, no stranger to the game, will be likely going for that Hammer Brother suit as well. An extra pipe from the HaxorR. We'll see where that one goes. This will tell him which is a possible... Oh, and unfortunately not a hammer for the HaxorR. So he is going to have to go and find the fortress that is required to open up the castle with Wendy. That would have been a jet World 3 and would have likely set up a possible record-breaking run here. And a 26:58 apparently is the tournament record. So I have to say it would be a very good possibility. I agree with Paradox. If it wasn't for that lock, or if HaxorR had a hammer, I would say definitely possible. A 5-minute World 8, not unheard of, especially if there's only 0 or 1 bridges. That is not unheard of. And, ooh, it's going to be interesting for sure. And Kryptonim, the flutes are, oh, there is a hammer. There is a hammer. So just a minute later, he is likely going to go back and use that. He is absolutely going to do that here. What a decision. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. He played the Hammer Brothers suit. There was a possibility and 3 fortresses that would be required. He says, no thanks, I'm not playing any of them. Finds World 1's airship, and the fight with Wendy is about to go down. Here within the 23rd minute, HaxorR will be going to Bowser. Get your guesses in for how many bridges are to Bowser. I'm going to think 0. Because I am super hopeful that the HaxorR is able to get in
that hammer, though.
And finish this off super quickly. And we just heard HaxorR on his stream. The hammer, though. Yeah, HaxorR, you're absolutely correct. That hammer, though, because that is going to mean a 22.5-minute exit from World 3. The entrance to World 8 is going to be happening here in about 20 seconds. Actually, less than that now. It's looking like it's closer to 10 seconds. And we are about to find our fight with Bowser. We'll see if he's able to get there quickly. If he does, we could have a new record. A lock at the beginning does mean that there is a possibility it cannot be 4 bridges, I do believe. And a hand stage means HaxorR is going to be taking an early exit. He won't be able to. It is a waterfall level, but he will be able to blow through this super quickly, as it's not a terrible level, and there are no enemies in this, so he will have to beat it. We'll come back to that in a moment. He did cloud over the level that the DisasterKatti just played, which was the pyramid. And the HaxorR has finished that off. So a little bit of a time waste there from the HaxorR, but only about 25 seconds for him to get through that. And he is going to be going on now to try to figure out, hey, where's Bowser at? A DisasterKatti hammer does come up. So that does mean he will not have to play a lock if he doesn't want to. He's going to find out that the tanks the super tanks, I should say, does in fact break the lock on the bottom that's going to get down below where 2.5 is. So he will have to play 2 more levels before he gets out of World 2. But we'll come back to that in a moment. A star on the side of TheHaxor means he gets to save his power-ups, and we'll be going after a fight with Boom Boom here in just moments. If this is the correct fortress, and the lock on the other hand, or on the pipe on the other side of this fortress is the correct one, that could still be the record, but it has to come up soon, because if not, we are not going to get a record, but we could still have it sub 30, and that is going to be a spectacular sight to see. Definitely not something that happens often, but if anybody can do it right now, it is TheHaxor. There is no chance for anything else to happen here. TheHaxor has got one purpose in mind, and that is to take Bowser down. TheHaxor having to figure out what's going on. 2 pipes, or 2 locks currently surrounding the pipe on the left. That means if that is the one that goes to Bowser, he has to at least still find another fortress. It definitely could be Paradox. The pipe surrounded by locks could absolutely be the one to Bowser. We have 3 locks on the screen so far. We know that it cannot be a 4, 3, or 2. At this point, I believe a 0 or a 1 guess is absolutely correct. And a cursed bridge, it seems like that is absolutely what's going on here, because he still can't find Bowser. Another fanfare on the side of DisasterKatti, protecting himself just a little bit from what could possibly come around. He is going to take a mushroom into a fight with the Hammer Brothers in water. They don't stand a chance from that floor going out from underneath them, and a Starman will be the option there. World 8 has options, absolutely, but what we do need is still the option of finding Bowser. We need to know where Bowser is. We need to know how many bridges there are. It is not the pipe. He has to find the L. There is only one more pipe that he could possibly get, and it's in the top right-hand corner. I'm just kidding. That's not correct. I think it's in the spot where 8-1 is. It's either 8-1 or 8-2. TheHaxor takes an early exit from 6-5. I can't fault him for that. That is a very good decision, because you don't have to play it. Don't play it. He has a airship here that he's going to go ahead and play. As the time winds down for the possibility of a record, TheHaxor now in 3F1 likely will not be going for a door 3 or door 4 skip, just wants to get through this as quickly as possible. If there's a lock on both sides, no, it does not break with a hammer. It breaks 1, and it is first going to find if there is a rock, and that will have the highest priority, and then the lock will be broken. So if you find yourself trapped between a rock and a lock, you need to have 2 hammers, because it will break the rock first. Now, TheHaxor does find the lock. There is 1 pipe that is in the bottom right-hand corner. This should be Bowser. This is the fight. Hammer Brothers suit comes out. He is going to miss the tournament lead record by just seconds, but it is going to be super close. We'll see if he does get any of those clips here that speeds him up a little bit. Look at this. It is going to be a 30, sub 30 for sure. And TheHaxor putting on a dynamite performance, arguably the fastest I have ever seen from anybody, much less in a tournament stage. This is absolutely stellar. It is hammer time. It is mac and cheese time. TheHaxor not wasting any times on second chances. There ain't no second chances here. Ain't nobody got time for that. TheHaxor now into the mac and cheese clip. It is time for a fight with Bowser, and this is going to be a sub 28, not even 30. Who cares about 30? We got a sub 28 run. Wow. GG's for TheHaxor. Get those out for TheHaxor. DisasterKatti doing his best to keep going as well. A very fantastic run by him as well. TheHaxor just pulling out all the stops. What do you say about that? Just incredibly fast. What an incredibly fast speed. Just ran absolutely remarkably. TheHaxor finishing with a grand time of 27:36. It wasn't exactly the record, but what a run. Oh my word, a seed to do it on that was unlike any others. A quick hammer kill on the Hammer Brothers does mean that TheHaxor comes out with a super fast World 3 to finish it off, and then into a World 8 that was complicated but not impossible, and he was able to figure it out quickly.
Did they switch from my audio?
Now, meanwhile, DisasterKatti will be going into the fight with Windy here in just one moment, as he does have a hammer here.
What was that run?
He equips a couple of items, decides that he's going to go ahead and head on in to the fight with DisasterKatti. or I'm sorry, DisasterKatti will be fighting Windy here in just one moment, and hopefully gets through this without any further issue. The star does run out right before the mushroom, or right before the first jump on Windy, but that does not matter. 2 shots takes out the Windy, and he will be moving on to World 8 as well. It was just mentioned in chat a moment ago. I believe it was 26:58, I think was the record. So a very close race and a very close time for DisasterKatti. I mean, how much closer do you get? Or, I'm sorry, for the TheHaxor. The TheHaxor very likely could have had a tournament record there, especially if he just had one more hammer. And honestly, if he had played the same one that DisasterKatti had, because DisasterKatti got his hammer in World 2. He didn't even play the same Boomerang Brother that the TheHaxor did to get his hammer in World 3. And if TheHaxor had one more hammer and was able to locate the right pipe quickly, that could have been the difference. Absolutely, Sleepy Domino. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts of what could have happened. But for the TheHaxor, what does matter is that he has a 27:38, a blistering pace, absolutely crazy. You can't blink, you will miss it. Like some of those worlds, you got in and we're going right out a moment later. You know, we don't even have time to explain things half the time. They were out of there. There's a fantastic and remarkable job for sure. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti now taking a damage boost to get through here, so he does not have to wait on the lift. He's got a lot of things to do. Waiting on the lift is not one of them. Meanwhile, as he does find his way through 6F1, he is going for a warp, which he does get from the Boom Boom, who disappears on sight with a Starman. And that will be the end of the fight for DisasterKatti. That does break the lock directly to the left of him. A little bit unnecessary, but regardless. It looks like DisasterKatti going to go ahead and play a couple fortresses here. Does find the Navy. And we'll be going through that here in just one moment. You know, in the Navy, you can be all that you can be. If you want to be a frog, you go with your bad self. Either way, DisasterKatti now dropping down with a Boom Boom in hand. Or with a bomb in hand into the fight with Boom Boom, and that will be a 3-hit kill for Boom Boom, just like always, honestly. But anyway, DisasterKatti does get through his Boom Boom fight, and looks to be that he wants to go ahead and play a couple of these levels. Believes that these have something for him. That he finds himself on the Angry Sun Desert stage, so he will be blowing through this as quickly as possible. Oh, and a Rogue Cheep comes up from a spawn to take him out immediately. So he will go with a frog suit, it appears. And looks like he might be going for a mushroom here in just one moment. Will likely be taking damage from something here in a few moments. Yes, definitely one of the worst stages for Small Cheep. And it was, in fact, a cheap shot. So there you go. DisasterKatti able to hold on to that frog suit. Not able to go quite as quickly, I think, as he would have wanted, but nonetheless does get through the level with a frog suit intact. Frog Bowser kill coming up. DisasterKatti having to be careful to not take a boom or a boss bass. Too many bees. Looking like he does not want to take a boss bass fight here. He does have the note block and just trying to figure out how to get up going with it. There we go. Is into the coin heaven. Going to be looking for an item up here. Going with a little bit more protection into the Bowser fight. Might also be looking for a hammer. We'll see if he does get that and start using it on some of these blocks, because there's only one way to Bowser and we still got to figure out where that's at. He is granted a frog suit that will replace the one he just used in the desert scene, and we'll be going through this pipe now. Time to figure out where's Bowser. And I apologize, I talked about the elf previously. Okay, he found a block. He is going to have to figure out how to get that open. He will take a left here now. There we go. And we'll be taking on 3F1, which will be the open bridge to Bowser. And we'll be taking on Bowser here in just one moment. Door 3 does not go his way, so he will have to reset. Grab a star. I don't think so, as that will prevent him going into the pipe immediately. He would have to wait for that to wane off. Meanwhile, he does decide to go back in and find door 5. That will be good for a star. He says, nah, I'm good. Goes back, takes on door 6. That will be the one that leads him to Boom Boom, and the fight will commence between the two. Norb will be coming out here in just one moment, and a midair catch, very nice. And DisasterKatti will now be able to find that lock does in fact break. There is in fact a pipe on the other side, and that does mean Big Bowser coming up here in moments. Another very good race on the side of DisasterKatti. He does have the Hammer Brothers suit. He is equipped. He is ready to go. Jumping on the laser statue, going for, ooh, this is a little different. It looks like DisasterKatti might be going for a clip into the fireball room right before Bowser. So we'll see if he's able to get it. Has to dodge that hot foot. There we go. A beautiful clip. Very nice. That will now lead him into the laser room. It does have the fireballs right before Bowser, so he'll be coming up to that fight with Bowser in just a moment. Here it is. Now here we go. Bowser coming up, and there he goes. It is a still remarkable run by DisasterKatti, coming in at a time of approximately 36:40 something. We'll find that here in just one moment. And as well, get your GGs out for DisasterKatti for another really good race. I mean, on both sides, just absolutely incredible paces. I can't wait for race 2. We are actually going to get that started up here in just one moment. If you do need a break, go take it now. We'll be getting started here in just about 2-3 minutes. So if you need your ramen, you need your popcorn, you need a burger, do what you got to do, make it happen. Be back here in 2 minutes, and we'll get going on the next one. And we're back. We have the second race coming up here in just moments. The countdown has started. The racers are ready. The randomization has begun. And it is time for our runners to get back into the Mushroom Kingdom and get ready to find Bowser and save the princess. We are back for the second of the two races between DisasterKatti and TheHaxor. This does come from the Group D stage, where TheHaxor is now 5-0, looking for an undefeated, undisputed win out of the group stages. And of course, your best times or your average time will be slated against the other runners who do come out of this based on your win-loss record. So TheHaxor certainly looking for a 6-0 win, and and it will be just an absolutely stellar chance for him to give him a very high seed if he goes through this with a similar pace as last time. And meanwhile, the DisasterKatti just looking for a win to play spoiler, which would set him off into a very good place. Both runners now starting in World 2. I laughed a moment ago because I just read what Orion Animus said. The racers are ready, no signal. Now, the stream is just a few moments behind. Oh, we have the race time clock going, so that's what the runners are actually paying attention to. And then it gets fed into us, where we do the commentary, the restream, things like that. And then it is presented to you all, so we have just a moment to kind of react to some things as well. So regardless, we have a very consistent start between these two runners, both within just seconds of each other. Interestingly enough, neither one of them opting to go after that first fortress, but do both find themselves in 4-2 so far, and both able to get that P or that tail, which they immediately use for flying, as they do have that P speed built up already. Again, just a few seconds difference between these two runners, and a very interesting start so far. World 2 does have 3 levels to begin, and that lock is not necessarily required yet. HaxOr finding the first of our hand stages, only the second we've seen so far today, at least between these two runners. And the item that is at the end of this will be the one that is in all 3 of the hand stages. So if it's a hammer and the other, ooh, a hammer suit actually. The other ones, if they do find them, will have the hammer suits as well. Not every level is in the game, because we do include lost levels also. HaxOr finding out, you know what? Yeah, I probably should play that fortress. He goes back, he finds the Navy, where he can be all that he can be, and will be okay. Interesting that the DisasterKatti has decided he will also follow suit and is going to be going back to play the Navy as well. So both players taking very similar routes at this point. I think it's a wise decision. You play less levels this way, and they will be able to move on here momentarily with one more level, and then the castle, I do believe, which will be coming up here in just moments. We'd also like to remind you that other races are coming up over this weekend. If you're enjoying what you see, certainly feel free to give these runners a follow. I'm sure they will greatly appreciate it. They both put on very fantastic content. A lot of SMB3 stuff going on, and especially right now as we do go through the tournament. We will get links to their channels as well in just one moment in the chat. Meanwhile, we do have both runners now going through 1-2. A HaxOr finishing it off. Disaster beginning. Not able to get through the first part to get the P speed, but that is not uncommon here in a randomizer. A Paracoopa not playing fair does go back and play a little bit spoiler to DisasterKatti, trying to get through there without taking damage. F2 on the side of the HaxOr. DisasterKatti decides to go ahead and take the... Okay, interesting. So the fortress was actually not required. It does not help. They do have to play the top fortress regardless, I believe. That is interesting that both players decided to go back and play the fortress. Regardless, here we are. 5F2 is required. DisasterKatti does get the fanfare to go ahead and play the level, or I'm sorry, gets the fanfare to get 5 up, and will use that to his advantage later on, I am sure. Let's try words again. DisasterKatti now into his fight with Boom Boom. TheHaxor finding Waterfall for the second time. That's a little unusual, but either way, he does get through that here quickly, and the DisasterKatti will be finding that in a moment. In-card game being passed up by DisasterKatti, and TheHaxor has now found himself into the airship, I believe, from World 7. I apologize. From World 7, he will be going through the longest of the airships, but there is a very nice P-speed strat here that we will see him take in a moment. Very nicely done on his part. DisasterKatti mashing like crazy to get through the waterfalls, and that is going to be the end of DisasterKatti's level and into the fight with Morton. TheHaxor going for a beautiful fire kill, and that will be the end of it for TheHaxor. Get your guesses in. We just saw World 2. What's coming up next? I have got to go with the land of water where Wendy waits. And of course, World 8 is at the very end, so we will have to wait and see where that comes up. We've got for 3, a lot of guesses for 5. Everybody, what's World 5? That's interesting. World 6 from Anti-Velocity. 00 Dead Money decides he wants more, or I'm sorry, predicts for more Mario. So we will see if they get what they want. DisasterKatti with a quick kill on Morton as well. The fire kill not super beneficial, but still fast nonetheless. And now DisasterKatti going to be going through and trying to catch up to TheHaxor. No H jump on TheHaxor's side as he was fighting for his life from a boss bass. No gulps here this time. And that will be the end of his level. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti getting a scene from the Princess Bride. Mawaz as well brings us together today. Always a good time on their side. TheHaxor now on to 7-1, and now it is time for the DisasterKatti to avoid the throws of a boss bass. Oh, that was a very close shot, but he does get the damage onto the boss bass. So a very good start indeed for him. TheHaxor finally gets the 7-1 clip. I did not count how many that was. I believe it was around 6, I think. Regardless, TheHaxor does get through, and quicker time than it would take to go through the level, so still a very good try. I'm being corrected. It is in fact 4. Either way, still a fantastic job on his side. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti now into 7-1 has the same problem as 7-6, does not have a mushroom, so he will go ahead and go face to face with a paratrooper so he can restart and find himself a better chance at going through this 7-1. TheHaxor now going into the end card game, looking to get a few items here. He doesn't know exactly what's what yet, but we do have a star, we have a 1-up, we have a flower match so far. And a flower star means no more items for him. And with this being a very vanilla pace so far, the fortress will not be acquired. I should also mention that DisasterKatti has chosen to have no hammers locks. So hammers will not break locks in this set. So these runners will have to find the fortress that breaks the lock as well as builds the bridge, as no other item will be useful for that. Fear not though, if you do have a hammer, 2, 3, 4, and 6 are all very good opportunities to use those hammers, as there are rocks there in strategic locations that could be very beneficial to our runners. Orion Anima with a hot take in the level. Luigi is the superior Mario brother, and I will fight anyone who disagrees. I have to side with Orion Anima. I was always the fan of Luigi as well. Green Mario, no thanks. I would rather have Luigi. Meanwhile, TheHaxor now burning through his level. DisasterKatti finds himself in 1-1 and is looking to narrow the lead as best he can with that Tanuki suit in tow. He is on the way. TheHaxor finishing off a beautiful run with scintillating speed at this point, and DisasterKatti now entering as well into 6-4. Not 6-4, 6-3. I apologize. I am just a little early. Regardless, the TheHaxor into World 4's airship and is using a beautiful piece strat to make very short work of this, is looking for a fight with Larry as quickly as he can get it. Green Luigi and red Luigi. I love it. Absolutely love it. Very nice. Larry not taking any time at all, and Larry boy will go down. Get your guesses in for this next world. We've had 2, we've had 1. Are we starting over at 7? Are we beginning in the middle with 4? What do you think? I'm gonna have to go with world 7 here. I think the Lands of Pipe, Maze, and Mystery is coming up next, and we'll be looking forward to seeing those piranhas partake in the action here. We got a 7. Wait, no, 4. We got 3, 3, 7. Interesting for sure. Lucid Nimbus must have heard that I picked 7, said no, Wolf never gets it right. I'm gonna pick it differently. I can't say I blame you for that. World 5 does come up. I'd be that was guessing World 5 earlier. Why didn't you stay with the answer? You would have been right. Either way, the TheHaxor finds himself in the tower stage early off the bat. 10 minutes in, we are into World 3. All I can say is that's more like it. That sounds like a girl with Steve Benin. TheHaxor doing a beautiful speed strat there. You love to see it. It always looks so good when they do. And a Karibo shoe will be the first to deal damage to the TheHaxor in this stage. And Lucid Nimbus, absolutely. I am used to getting these wrong, so I don't mind that at all. I just have fun doing it, and that's why we're here, isn't it? For fun, for good times, for laughs, for excitement. It's all here on the SMB3 Randomizer Tournament Group Stage, where we have the TheHaxor and DisasterKatti from Group D duking it out in a beautiful, very good fight so far. A lot of excitement, I think, on all fronts, and an interesting look at the TheHaxor's inventory. He decides to take the Tanuki suit into 3-1. So we're going to have a raccoon swimming here for a little bit. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti taking a little bit of a more cautious approach in this tower. I do not fault him for that at all. Just about a level behind at this point. But nonetheless, keeping it tight. There's a lot of things that can happen, and if there's any divergence, DisasterKatti could very well come out as the leader. Karibo shoe, 2 for 2, dealing damage to our runners. And the TheHaxor now having to make a decision of, wait, where do I go now? The Tanuki suit does come in handy as he is able to use the delay strat to keep that P speed from building all the way up. And the TheHaxor will get through the level as quickly as physically possible, as the Boom Boom brother now has 0 more chances, and that will be the end of it for him. DisasterKatti now going through 3-1. The very first level on the 3rd world. The TheHaxor now is still using that Tanuki suit to his advantage, and is given a music box for a fight with a Boomerang brother. And DisasterKatti taking a mushroom, I think, is a very wise decision, especially knowing that 7F1 is coming up next. Not a bad choice at all. Getting just a few of the links into the chat. I highly recommend that if you enjoy this action, do feel free to follow the runners, catch any of the action with the schedule. If you want to be a part, join the Discord. There's a lot of very good people there, a lot of very welcoming people who are more than interested in a friendly and familiar face, or even a new face. If you are interested at all in running this game, or even just playing through it to see, hey, it looks like a lot of fun, I'm interested in trying it, we highly recommend it. The game is right there as well. We do like answering questions. There's a lot of really good talent, a lot of years invested in this game. So we do enjoy sharing our love with you all, as evidenced by the fact that we have 48 runners currently in this tournament. So a lot of really cool things happening for the community. We definitely ask that you consider being a part of it if you do enjoy it. If not, please bookmark these links that we've just put in, because there are a lot of very wonderful things coming up, a lot of really good things, and you don't want to miss it. You really, truly don't. If you have 6 or if you haven't already followed the SpeedGaming channel, also they do a lot of fantastic races, speed runs, randomizer runs, tournaments, and really we could not be here without them. So feel free to give them a follow as well. Definitely consider it. It's a very short thing. It helps SpeedGaming know that you appreciate the content that we put on, that they put on, and it's super easy. In fact, following is free. So, do it. And it looks like it will be a World 5 double tower run that is in fact required because the pipes are right next to each other in front of the castle. That will mean it takes a lot less levels to get to the castle, but it will take more levels to get to the pipes that are in front of the castle. So HaxOr going through the second time on the tower. And Mayo Rabbit asks, what if they have no face? Oh, well, we would still like to see what there is of you as well, because we do like asking or answering questions and being a part always. Regardless, the HaxOr now finishing up the tower. DisasterKatti deciding to go ahead and go into World 7F2, decides to take a tail. I find that interesting. Gets a very poor jump. I believe that was a missed button input. Sometimes that does happen, unfortunately. And a music box comes out. DisasterKatti decides to take another tail, this time equipped with P-Speed. And he will fly through what he can. He does have to go down to the swamp. That is an easy thing to get through. The momentum does allow him to get onto the pipe. You like to see that. You don't want to see any cheap or tricky death here. Because this is a level you don't want to play more time than you have to. The HaxOr now through World 3, which was World 5, and we need to get your guesses in for the next one. I got to go with 6. I think World 6 has to come up here in just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and guess with that. The HaxOr getting a letter from a king who rather be transformed, and will be heading on to the next world, now with a frog suit, and it is in fact World 6. I finally get one right. Yay! HaxOr now finds himself in 2-2, I believe. And we'll be going through without touching the water. If there's anything that these fire flowers don't like, it's water. So the runner is going to be saving himself a little bit of time and not dealing with trying to swim, because that doesn't help. DisasterKatti, the Karibo shoe does go 3 out of 4 for damage, and DisasterKatti will have to play a Boomerang Brothers stage. Decides to go ahead and take an early exit, doesn't really want to play it if he doesn't have to. Might re-equip a star here and go after it again. He knows that it is 2 Sledge Brothers. And there we go, finally able to get the first one, take out the second one here. Is able to have just enough protection from that Starman, and will be on his way into the tower once more. The HaxOr blazing through his first fortress that he has there. In-card game has popped up, and the HaxOr has decided to go ahead and move on. World 1-4 coming out for him, and will be taking on some Fire Tails and Fire Chomps as he continues on through this one. I'm sorry, not 1-4, 1-6. He is going through 1-6. DisasterKatti now into his second try with the tower. And the HaxOr is finishing off 1-6 in moments. DisasterKatti now finally gets revenge on the Karibo shoe and will be on to the rest of the fight with the tower. DisasterKatti with just a slight misstep there does find himself in the spikes, but with that mushroom, he is able to damage boost and continue on. HaxOr with the Jugum Cloud for the Hammer Brother fight he just went through. HaxOr now making a decision between 4 and 3, and 5-3 does come out, so that means he will be playing the longest level in the game, or one of at least. As far as time-wise goes, even with peak speed strats, it looks great, but it does take a long time. You're virtually playing 2 levels here, as you have to start out by going to the left, and now you go to the right, and then you're through the level. DisasterKatti now picking a fight with Roy, looking for a fire kill, not going to get it, as that Roy does have Earthquake, and does mean a few jumps are, or his jumps are a lot shorter because of that Earthquake ability. HaxOr through 5-3 just with blazing speed. So far so good. We are in the 18th minute, and HaxOr is into the World 4. which is in fact World 6. And if that makes perfect sense, welcome to Randomizer. Where everything is gone through or is labeled with its vanilla name, but isn't where it's supposed to be in vanilla. And thus is the point of the randomizer. Regardless, DisasterKatti now into World 6. These two fortresses in the beginning needs to figure out what TheHaxor already knows, and that is how am I going to get into the rest of this world. TheHaxor having to go back and play World 6 F2. That's not right. World 6 F1. There we go. So the very first fortress that you would normally come to in this world is not exactly in the right spot, but is very close, and will be the next level that TheHaxor does play. A fanfare means a few more lives for DisasterKatti, and we'll go into these next couple of worlds with a renewed quiver of lives, and we'll continue on fighting for whatever lead he can possibly get, or whatever he can do to narrow the lead that TheHaxor has. And I hope he does go after the... Okay, looks like he has gone for a star in door 5, but hopefully he does go for both fortresses to save himself just a little bit of time before he has to go later. TheHaxor now blazing through the end of World 6 decides to go the quick route, use a few clouds there, and is now onto a fight in a World 3 airship where he will be picking a fight with Lemmy, the colorful mohawked Koopaling. DisasterKatti does do the exact same thing TheHaxor does. World 1-6 has come up. We will have to find out here in just one moment that the lock does need to break still, so that fortress is in fact required. Unless, well, no, I apologize. It actually is required because the hammer will not break the lock. Another beautiful off-screen wand grab for TheHaxor. Looks like this one will also be good, and he will not have to fall. This is, of course, a little bit of a visual glitch. The game is wrapped, essentially, so the screen is almost on like a cylinder is the way I think of it. And if you're at the very top of the screen, the mechanic actually thinks that you're at the bottom of the screen. So on a level a little while ago for DisasterKatti, it looked like he was going for a block, that when he was jumping on it, the block was actually jumping up on the bottom of the screen. What this means is that the screen basically sees it, so when you jump on that, or when you hit it, it thinks it's on the bottom because it's off screen. It's off the screen at the top, and that's where it actually shows it, is at the bottom. So if you are just off screen enough, the game will trigger and think that you're actually at the bottom of the screen, and therefore will actually jump you all the way down in the cutscene because it believes you're already there. Really hate to think of 1-6 as an auto-scroller. That would be terrifying, actually, especially with that lift at the very end. That would be awkward for sure. We had 1, 2, 3 last seed. This time we have 5, 6, 7. A very astute observation. I appreciate that, Sleepy Dono. That is peculiar. 1, 2, 3, and then 5, 6, 7. 4 just kind of got left out both times, but that's quite all right. As the middle child, that sometimes does occur. 4, 3 on the side of TheHaxor, equipped with a tail, narrowly missing a Fire Brother Fireball. DisasterKatti now figuring out what TheHaxor just did, and that's where do these pipes go? And we'll realize, hey, I gotta go play that fortress, don't I? And the hammer does not break the lock. So even if the hammer was obtained, he would have to. He would only break the rock there. 7F2 should be an auto scroller. Look, I do a lot of really mean things on the stream as far as rolling seeds and stuff, and that seems bad on my account. Like that. That is dirty. That is absolutely dirty. We'll have a randomizer where any level can be auto scroller. No, that absolutely sounds terrible. Either way, TheHaxor now into 7-2, and the DisasterKatti into 6F1, and looks to be going for a damage boost strat here, used by the speedrunners, and a narrow miss from the dry bones does mean he is into the last alley of this race, or of this fortress, I should say, has a star equipped and will be going for a Brorb if he can get it. That, of course, is a grow or an orb, because the way that the game does read Boom Boom being destroyed in that way, the question mark orb does turn over for some reason. I don't exactly know why. It's kind of a visual glitch. 5-9 is found on the side of DisasterKatti, so he will be playing this, as he does not have the same inventory that TheHaxor did. So 5-9 will be required on the side of DisasterKatti. Meanwhile, TheHaxor finding basically a free World 7 if he can get to virtually all Asia and Australia. Unfortunate miss for DisasterKatti does mean he will have to play 5-9 again, unless he does in fact have a cloud. I strongly suggest he uses it here if he does. If not, might want to go play a Hammer Brothers, see if you can get one really quick, because that pipe is going to be very useful. What are you doing? What are you doing? There's a pipe right there. Oh dear, DisasterKatti not realizing a pipe at the very top of the screen does mean that he is going to play a lost level, and he will be moving on shortly afterwards. This is not one of the worst lost levels, and once you do move through the pipes, Boss Pass does not respawn down there as a cheap would. Meanwhile, the TheHaxor now into his next airship, I believe is World 2's. It is indeed World 2 airship. And the third of the fanfares for DisasterKatti, that will mean 5 more 1-ups, plenty of protection on his side, 1 lost level in between and the castle, and the fight with Limmy will commence here in just one moment. About a world's difference between the two runners now, as the TheHaxor has finished off World 5 and will be going into the next world here in moments. Another quick World 7 for our runners, and the TheHaxor will be starting here in just a few minutes, or a few seconds I should say, and as we enter the 26th minute of our second run today. We would also like to remind you that after this, we do have some more fantastic runs coming up at 3 p.m., which that has just actually started. Meowth Rocket is commentating for Frankenrock versus Ricky of Kokiri. And then at 8 p.m. tonight, Eastern Time, that is Magoo is Adorable versus Boop to the Man. And Animus United will be calling the shots there. Then at 9 p.m., Tabashio J versus S Diesel will be refereed by Leslie Pro _04. And then tomorrow at 2, we have the Bangler versus DisasterKatti. Tomorrow again at 6 p.m. Glutamic Acid takes on Stewie Cartman. And then Monday, we have more action for you as well. So a lot of races coming up this weekend. The end of May is the end of the group stages. We are planning on getting into brackets as quickly as possible. There was a delay on the match on, I believe, was that SpeedGaming 3? I saw a 3, and I was thinking SpeedGaming 3, and then I was like, wait, no, that's what we're on. And then I finally got out of full screen and realized you said match at 3. Anyway, the TheHaxor now into the Carpet Fort, and DisasterKatti finishing off his fight on 3F2 as well. The TheHaxor using fire on a hot foot. It does not appear to be very effective, but it is on Boom Boom. It is super effective, and that is the end of his fight. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti into 4-3. No, Zero Wing, you are absolutely fine. I confused myself. I apologize for that. Taking up a couple of coins there for DisasterKatti. No big deal at all. TheHaxor now into the World 6 airship. And a beautiful Air 6 ship. World 6 airship clip. There we go. The TheHaxor does save a few seconds on that, and the fight with Wendy does begin. A very fast World 3. Not going to be a sub 30 this time, but still going to be a fast pace nonetheless, I do believe. as he is going to be entering World 4 here in moments. There's a lot of good possibilities that World 4 actually could be very quick. It's going to specifically determine where the fortresses are, which one's required, and what is in between them and the castle. So it could be very quick, it could be very long. We will have to wait and see. Either way, DisasterKatti now into 7-2 is working on getting through this as quickly as possible. Doesn't have to build that bridge as he does not have a tail to float down, which does, of course, extend the jump. And will be going through now over the music bridge, and there he is. World 4 does have 4 pipes, each, or 2 pairs, I should say. And okay, this is a treacherous World 4, I think, at best. I do believe it is our world that has 3 fortresses this time. So World 4 will take our runners a little bit of time. This run taking a lot longer than the last one, and we're not done yet. So TheHaxor now blowing through his level here very quickly, as DisasterKatti does want to figure out, hey, where am I going? There's a lot to figure out for sure. And World 4-5 does finish off quickly for TheHaxor, and he will be playing these one at a time. These fortresses will break locks, and he has to figure out which one builds the bridge. So 3 fortresses, all 3 could be required. We will have to wait and see, of course, as TheHaxor does have to go through, but does so quickly, and does take the fire kill onto the boom boom as well. DisasterKatti also still looking for World 7, just needs to figure out where that final island is that does cause him, or that does allow him to continue on. It looks like it is a free and an open area for him now. He does just have to get to Australia to take on Ludwig von Koopa and continue his race here. TheHaxor going for a P-speed strat, takes a little bit of damage there, is able to immediately equip another fire flower, clips over the item block, does have a fire flower in tow, and is ready to take on Boom Boom. Pause strats do not work for the DisasterKatti, as he is going to be looking for another fight with Prana, and will be going after the item that they do hold here in just one moment. TheHaxor finishing off World 4, 2 fortresses required. That's all she wrote. World 1 airship is up with Iggy at the very end. And get your guesses in for the last mini game of the day, for us at least, and that is the bridges to Bowser, as Iggy takes 1 shot to complete. Guess how many bridges will take our runners to Bowser? Anywhere from -1 to 4. -1, of course, being the runner will come up where, ooh, a hammer comes up. Not going to be necessary, as his locks are not broken by hammers. So really not going to be a huge factor for DisasterKatti, as the time has run out for those. Regardless, so normally in the vanilla game, the super tanks would be on the right hand, the first place you would come in is all the way to the left on Bowser's Valley, and then the next spot would be the super tanks, but that is not so here. There is a possibility that where the super tanks were is where the pipe would be. So there is a possibility that there could be a bridge that could be built on the left-hand side, and that is what's considered a -1. So there you know, the more you know, regardless. TheHaxor finding a hand stage, and that will, of course, have a hammer suit at the end of it. So TheHaxor looks to be taking a P-speed strat here. He will get it very nicely, and that will spell the end of that level for him, and another hammer suit just in case. It does not hurt to have a spare, just in case something goes horribly awry. Either way, TheHaxor now onto the tanks icon. It is another fortress, so that could potentially be what he's looking for, or could in fact be a way for him to build a bridge or break a lock. So not a terrible decision for him to go ahead and play that fortress. That was 5F1 that he just finished off, and could be required. So if you see a fortress, play a fortress. It's just that easy. TheHaxor obviously knowing what he's doing. This tight team wants to go complete his recon. There are 4 pipes on the very first part of this world. TheHaxor doing some recon still, a lot of types to choose from. HaxR deciding to go ahead and play the fortress he has just found. That is in fact 6F2. DisasterKatti going through the Piranha stage again, and we'll be, or the second one I should say, and we'll be going for the item here in just one moment. TheHaxor deciding to go ahead and restart the level with a tail, and that will mean that he does fly through the bottom of this stage very quickly and will damage boost through the roto disc and finish off Boom Boom here in just moments. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti onto the World 2 airship. He is going to equip a mushroom and look at a fight with Ludwig von Koopa, and we'll be starting that here in one moment. Looks like a single bridge will be the most that we could possibly have. TheHaxor still not paying attention to two of the fortresses he's seen, and why bother? There's a lot currently on the screen in the bridge room that is not necessary. It will not help progress. In fact, it will impede it if he tries to go and break those. So feeling comfortable with this decision thus far. HaxR will continue his search for Bowser as we enter the 35th minute here in a moment. TheHaxor finding a single bridge is required. He does know he's already played the tanks. That does mean that the other tank he sees will be a level and not a actual fortress. So he does decide to go ahead and turn around. He finds the naval, I believe the naval ship, Sprite, and will go ahead and play its level, which is in fact World 8's fortress. The World 8's fortress could be the gatekeeper here to the bridge that does get us to Bowser, and we'll be commencing that here momentarily. TheHaxor with another beautiful one cycle through World 8 fortress, and he will get into the fight with Boom Boom here in moments. With no time to spare, the conveyor belt does start right away, and the DisasterKatti going for a double hammer break with the rocks. I think that's a good decision here. The time is running out for this race. If you've got the items, go ahead and use them. TheHaxor happy with the fortress he just destroyed, so he will go back. He will find Bowser. He does find that that bridge is in fact built for World 4's level does come up here, and he will be going through World 4-1 here in just moments. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti going through the first of the 6 fortresses. Nope, just kidding. World 6F3. Sorry, World 6F3 on the side of DisasterKatti. I'm still getting those fortresses confused, but I apologize. Meanwhile, TheHaxor entering into the 36.5 minute does enter Bowser's castle. The hammer suit is equipped. TheHaxor is ready to find Bowser and ready to end this once and for all. What luck to get HaxR for the group stage. You are not joking. There are a lot of fantastic runners. TheHaxor is just absolutely outstanding. Hopefully we can get an average time for him shortly after this. Sometimes we are able to get those very quickly, and we'll see if we do get those as well. It has been confirmed that this seed was rough, and the runners have felt it. But that will be the end of the TheHaxor's race here today. Bowser goes up, Bowser goes down, that's it. And the time finishing for the TheHaxor, we will get that in one moment. Get your GZs out in chat for him. And a very nice double clip indeed. The official race time, that's fun to say. For the TheHaxor, it's 37 minutes. 35 seconds. We have just extended an invitation to the TheHaxor for an interview. We will see if he can get him, or if we can get him here in just one moment and talk about the race, see what he thought, how it felt, and congratulate him on going undefeated through the group stages. I'm not certain that we will know his official race time. I will have to follow up on that. Regardless, though, a very fantastic job on his front. A very well played race, honestly. Just an absolutely outstanding job on both. I mean, the second one was a much more grueling seed. A lot of things that he had to do. Hammers did not break locks, so that did change it just a little bit in terms of strategy, but really not much. There was not a lot of places that those could be used, and really not a whole lot of hammers came out. I know there was one from the first Piranha in what would be considered Europe in terms of the world map on World 7. So the first Piranha that you would normally come to did have a hammer, but really just no places to use it. So a little bit of a difference there. Either way, DisasterKatti will be looking for World 7 here in just one moment. And of course, we did have 2 fortresses there. So we will watch for DisasterKatti to get through that quickly here. And we'll be looking for Bowser here in moments. DisasterKatti going underneath the pipes, trying to figure out what he needs to know. There's one fortress to play right after a level. So 4-1 will be coming up here for our runner. Not 4-1, I apologize, 4-5. Either way, we do have the TheHaxor joining us here. GG. We might still be getting the TheHaxor here in one moment. Stand by. Meanwhile, DisasterKatti is going through here.
I should be here now, I think.
There we are. Congratulations on a very nicely fought race, as well as going undefeated through the seed. So congratulations, or through group stage, I should say.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that second seed though. I mean, what the heck? Those configurations were quite bad.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it. I was talking in chat. The first one was very unusual for me. I don't usually roll seeds like that. The second one was a lot more indicative of how I've been rolling lately. So sorry about that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the nature of hammers don't break locks, although it didn't really matter because I don't think we really got hammers in either of the seeds except for, you know, when I pulled a 1 in 10 out of my butt on the Hammer Bro in World 3 in the first seed. But other than that.
Yeah, we are actually just making mention of that right before you came in. In the first seed, you're right, there was that one in World 3, and also right before it, one of the Hammer Brothers in World 2, DisasterKatti actually found his hammer there. So those were the only 2 places I saw hammers there. In the second seed, there was the first Piranha, DisasterKatti played it, and that was a hammer as well. But you're right, just in a whole lot of places that was very valuable.
Yeah, it would have been good in the second seed in World 6. I think you would have skipped 2 stages. Potentially 3 if you picked, you know, the fort that the correct fort right away. But I didn't have one, so I actually had to play both. But yeah, I think in the first seed, I believe I messed up in World 5 too. I could have played the tower and skipped 2 levels instead. So that was kind of a mistake. And then the second seed, I think I finished with a cloud in my inventory, which, I mean, I'm always a little nervous about catching a cloudable like Atlantis at the end of the seed. It's hard to kind of make that decision. I've definitely been punished for, because I could have used it in World 3 and I knew that, but I've been kind of punished in the past for doing stuff like that.
Sure, definitely understandable. And you did actually cloud over 5-9 in one of the seeds. I believe it was this one in World 6. You, okay. I believe, clouded because you saw the pipe at the top of the screen, and that level you clouded was 5-9. So a very good blind pick there for sure.
Yeah, I just saw that, you know, clouding there, I could just get to the end of the world because there were only 2 forts, because I already had a peak of the end of the world. So yeah, just figured I had 3 of them, I think, at that point, so I figured I'd start using them. Yeah,
very good decision. It definitely seemed like there was not a lot of hammers, but it did feel like there was a few clouds both times. And I mean, even holding 1 at the end was not terrible, because like you said, if something like a 7-5 comes up, a 6-6, or, you know, a tumultuous level, that is a very good chance to use a cloud. And if that does come up late and you don't have one, it means a required.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, you don't really want to play any of those stages. They're going to take a really long time. You'd rather even play 5-9, I think, than any of the more difficult stages or Atlantis. So, yeah, I just kind of worried about that. I've had that happen. Although, I mean, sometimes you can't avoid it because it's in World 8. So,
Absolutely. And we did see, I believe in the first stage or the first seed, you had, I want to say it was like waterfall come up where the pipe usually would come into the dark room.
yep.
And that was on the hand stage. So kind of an unfortunate one, but thankfully a quick level nonetheless.
Yeah, at least it's a quick level, but yeah, that's arguably the worst hand stage to get because there's just no way to take a quick death. You have to complete it.
Indeed. And I would like to also point out one thing. I'm not sure, the chat actually had to inform me of this one, but the tournament record for, I guess, one of the races is like a 26:58, I believe. So there was a time, and especially with your time going into World 8, I personally was cheering for it. I thought you had a very good chance of beating that record. You ended up being just a little bit shy of it, but just a scintillating pace in that first seed.
Yeah, I mean, despite not having a lot of hammers, the configurations were really generous in the first seed, and I made mostly good decisions. Again, the one bad decision I made was just I could have played one less level, and I could have gotten luckier at the hands. You know, those two things. Then I probably beat that time, but not much you can do about it. Also, I guess I could have played the fortress first, the correct one. I think I played an extra fortress or two as well.
Yeah, it's one of the parts about that randomizer that's so hard. If you played it again, obviously there were some things you can look for, maybe even to find an extra hammer or two elsewhere, but, you know, how do you know?
Yeah, I don't even think hammers were useful in that seed with how it was configured. I'd have to remember, like, World 6, but I don't think, yeah, like, World 2, it wasn't useful. World 3, it was useful, and I got it at the right time, because there were 3 forts, and so I didn't want to, you know, play pick a fort.
Oh, absolutely. I was pretty much going crazy at that point. Chat was flying. I think everybody was really getting into it at that time. And then the hammer to come out, you know, I had just got done saying how a hammer would mean a skip and a very quick fight with Wendy, and then less than a minute later, you had found the hammer and you were already onto the fight with Wendy. So, you know, just a slight drawback there, but honestly, you know, it could have been a lot of different things come up there and you got the hammer out of it. So, you know.
Yep, 1 in 10, baby.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yep, and that's why I did it. I was like, well, I mean, this is probably going to cost a lot of time anyway. Maybe I'll just fight the hammer bro and hope. That's why I think you guys probably heard me. I was like, I said something about it when I got it because it was just, yeah, it's insane luck.
Yeah, actually, I made a mention on that because I very distinctly heard you say that hammer though, and
yep.
I was like, okay, well, apparently the Haxor's mic is on, but I have to agree because that hammer though, that made a huge difference in that world, and really took the run from potentially a 30. You know, you would have been tickling the sub 30 mark there to well below. I mean, you were almost 2.5 minutes away from 30 minutes there.
Yep.
Which is an outstanding run altogether for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I picked. So I had been picking, you know, this seed type in our second match for most of the tournament, just to kind of. I think it gives me an advantage against most people, as you can tell. Like the distance between us, this seed's even larger than the last one, but it is slower. So. And my average time hasn't been good because, you know, my opponent's seeds they picked, we haven't rolled quick seeds either on those, and those, you know, were hammers break lock. So I just decided to, I needed to lower my time because I want to get that buy. So
absolutely. Well, I think you definitely did it. I'm not sure. I'm still getting up to date on all the rules and everything. So how many places do have the buy at the very beginning of the brackets?
It looks like there's 8 according to the configuration now, because there's 2 from each group that advance, so there's 24. So there'll be 16 that play the first round with 8 advance, and then, you know, second round will be the top 8 seeds, and then the next 8. So I believe it'll be on based on average time, because that's how it's been in the past. So
yeah, it definitely looks to be that could be the case. And so far, if my counting is correct, I believe there are 6 undefeated right now, and including yours. And I think Stewie Cartman is on the fringe of doing it. He has a race against glutamic acid, and if he does take 2-0 there, I believe those will be 8 that will be undefeated. And then we do have a couple that have already been determined and cannot have undefeateds in them. So a very good chance of the bye, and especially with that, with a very quick pace earlier, hopefully that does help your average as well.
yeah, I think I was coming in, I was around like a 35, and these were a 32, so it'll help a bit. Probably cut it down to like a 34. I just, yeah, there's 9, potentially 9. We could have 9 undefeateds because Booba, you know, hasn't lost yet, but he's still got, I think, 4 matches to play. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment, is just waiting on that, and hopefully I can just have a faster time than one person.
Indeed, for sure. So yeah, lots to still come. We have a lot of races coming up this weekend. I'm sure there's probably going to be even more next weekend. DisasterKatti, this was the first 2 for him, and a lot still to come for him at this point. The Bangler has 2 races with him, as well as Raycor has 2 races with him as well. So the second place still up for grabs here in your group.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, you know, Caddy and Bagler, which should be pretty good, I think, you know, based on how Caddy did in the first seed. I think they're fairly close. I think you'd say Bagler would probably be a little favored in that one, just because Bagler's a little better Mario 3 player, but doesn't have a ton of randomizer experience.
Well, it certainly can come down to that. The randomizer sometimes does like to give and take away, and you know, we've seen multiple times within any given race that it's, you know, it could be anybody's game. That if you do have, you know, the speed strats, yeah, it could help. But if you have something like 1-5, you know, those you really can never bet that 1-5 is going to allow you to do the P-speed strats. So yeah, I mean, it could be anybody's game. We've seen a lot of different upsets and things like that, but definitely going to be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to play a lot of randomizer to figure out, like, where can you go fast, what sort of enemies can screw you over in certain points, like if you're trying to go fast. And I played enough at this point that I have a good understanding of that, I think. So
yeah, for sure. And I think once you start playing more, you kind of start to look for the routes. You kind of start to get in your mind, really, even just the rule sets of, hey, what is this going to require? And you just kind of have to make it work. And we saw a couple times, we even had a question in chat, like, why put one of the Hammer Brothers to sleep? I think it was in like World 5 or something. You went ahead and used the music box just so you can move along, or maybe it was World 1, I don't remember. But really, I think it just came down to, you know what you've got, you know what you can do with it, and you got to make that count.
yeah, I mean, personally, I think Hammer Bro fights are unfair, so I try to avoid them as much as possible. It's kind of like pretty rare to get a fair Hammer Bro fight, so if you don't have a bunch of stars, plus, you know, like, they take time as well, so if you have inventory, enough inventory, and you don't need more, it's not really worth fighting them either.
We would also like to now say GG to Caddy, who just finished his race and has joined us in the comms booth.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, GG, tough second seed there. I was playing through, I was like, yeah, this is... I can imagine if you're gonna have trouble with that one, because yeah, that World 5, you had to, like, go up, go back down, play the fort, go back up, and then World 7, you had to check every single pipe. World 8 was, like, weird as well. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, one of the hardest seeds I have done.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't really play that many hard levels, I would say. I just had to play a lot of levels.
Yeah. True.
So, DisasterKatti, I believe you are a little bit new to the randomizer scene. What do you think so far?
Well, it's pretty fun to try to race against the best players, but well, what can you expect? I really like the, the first one. The first seed was very good, but the other one was so fucking difficult.
Yeah. It happens. Yeah, and it's weird too because in neither seed the hammers were not very useful, but you could just see the difference in how the worlds were configured was the difference in time, basically.
Yeah. My plan was not to die and skip hammer bros and be fast, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. It's basically my strategy. But yeah, I mean, you'll just have to play more, because I mean, you probably found there were certain enemies in certain spots that really screwed you over, and you probably had no idea that they could even be there. So, you have to play a lot of randomizer seeds to realize, oh, if this enemy's here, I can't do this.
Yeah, right. I think I need to try to play the levels more casually than the speedrun strats, because every time I try to do those, I die.
Yeah, I know. People have talked, in my matches when I watch them back, they're like, why is he grabbing leaves and stuff? I always believe you should have 2 power-ups, because you just don't know. It's very easy to just take damage twice in quick succession. So, even a tail, and you'll start to find that having the tail, it can be useful in certain spots to do P-speed strats, because you can use the damage boost to your advantage.
Yeah. It's one of the weird things compared to normal speedrunning.
Yeah, for sure. And then also the tail's weird because it'll save you huge amounts of time in certain things, like having a tail in 6F2 or 7F1, or even if you have a tail in the World 6 airship, because you can get P speed in that airship and fly over the mast. Those are huge time saves.
Yeah, they are.
One other thing that we do know with that tail is there are a lot of chances to, even if you're in 6-2 or some of those others, if you do miss a jump, it's also very forgiving. Or even in 7-2, you're able to bridge that gap very nicely, actually.
Yeah, it's the granny strats in 7-2. It's awesome when you have a tail and you go into 7-2. You're like, all right. I mean, it's not P speed, but at least I'm guaranteed to get over this thing.
Absolutely, and with some of those enemy sets, that's all you really can do.
Yep. Yeah, you got 4 more left. If you can beat Bagler tomorrow at least once, you'll actually, I think you guys will force a tiebreaker if you can beat Raker twice. So, that should be a big one.
I hope my luck is better tomorrow. If I get these kind of seeds tomorrow too, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, just think about it this way too. If the seed's difficult, your opponent's probably not having that much fun either. So, I mean, it was the case for me too. I wasn't having a lot of fun. My time was reflective of, I don't think I died in the seed. So, it was still quite slow considering how I played. So yeah, I mean, if, that's the thing that I found is just, don't get tilted, just continue to play.
Yeah. I'm really happy that I didn't get any game overs, because usually when I play randomizer, I get like million game overs.
That's good. That's good.
I think that's probably the best way to surmise randomizer is just don't get tilted. You know, there could be a lot of things going on, 152 things going through your head at any given time. I was actually screaming at the screen at one point, much to the distress of the chat, I am sure. But DisasterKatti in World 6, I believe in the second time, there was 5-9, and then as soon as you got through that, there was a lost level, I believe. But there was a pipe directly above that, and that pipe would have allowed you to skip that level. And you know, it's so easy to get tunnel vision as to what you're doing. You know, you're just trying to go through as quickly as possible. But the pipe was right there, ready for you. And you know, it's hard for us because you know we see it and it's like, oh, look at that, look at that. But you know, the biggest thing is just keeping your head about you, keeping your wits, and really just playing your game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is that will take experience too. Like you're gonna end up playing extra levels, but I think it's good if you just watch back your races and just see like, oh, I understand. And even when you're racing, like if you have to take a second to understand what's going on, do it. I did it in World 5, you know, I was like, okay, I understand, you know, just like, you know, sometimes taking the extra couple seconds might save you 30.
It's pretty hard to be fast and think at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
I need to practice that.
Yeah, it's a little different animal because you know, when you speed run, your decisions are mostly made for you, right? Like you have a couple of decisions you'll probably have to make, but for the most part, like you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, and our time is winding down. Do you have any last thoughts for the viewers? Anything you'd like to talk about, joke around about?
No.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and you know, thanks for doing the race with me this time. That hopefully worked well for you too, because you know it's tough for us to schedule. We're actually 10 hours apart, so and yeah, thanks for doing comms for us. I appreciate it. Thanks to the viewers for you know, watching, and hope you guys enjoyed.
GG.
All right, and that is going to be the end of it for us here today. Coming up next is a Super Metroid multi-category, and that will be starting here in just a few minutes. We'll be getting that switched over here, and we'll be getting started. If you haven't already followed the runners, we did just put the links in there for you. Please go over, show them some love, give them some support. Also, we do have all the information about Super Mario Brothers Randomizer 3. If you have any questions, certainly jump into the Discord. We'd love to see you there. On behalf of SpeedGaming, DisasterKatti, TheHaxor, the entire SMB3 Randomizer community, we would like to say thank you to the viewers for being here. Without you all, we wouldn't be here, and there's a lot of places you could be today, but you chose to be here with us, so we certainly appreciate that, and we say thank you. This has been Growlwolf signing off for good, or for now, I should say, not for good, hopefully. But this is Growlwolf signing off for now, saying thank you, keep randomizing, keep racing, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.